go again?
Oh, no, not again.
You've seen it before, haven't you?
Dom, how long have we been doing?
Once more unto the bridge, dear friends.
Again and again and again until we're both dead.
Hello, welcome to You've Seen It Before, Movie Reviews Connection of Mind. Well, here we are a couple weeks into 2024. Hope all is going well with you, and if it's not, I hope things improve in the near future for you. I wanted to do this video for a couple months now just because it all started with one movie that I was finally reminiscing and all of a sudden realizing that movie's going to be 20 years old next year. Well, next year is now this year, and you know, this might be a regular feature with, you know, January releases, since January is not a huge movie month for most of the time. And, you know, just it's fun to take a look back and see some movies that are coming up on milestones, you know? So, you know, no other reason than, you know, 20 years seemed like a good measure to go with. And really, I also wanted to talk about 2004 specifically, because really that was one of the first years where I really started paying attention to movies. And you know, it struck me going look at my shelf that I have a lot of movies from 2004 specifically. You know, even though 2 years, you know, bracketing it, 03 and 05, I don't have nearly as many releases as 2004. And like I said, I think 2004 was probably one of the first years that I really started paying attention to movies. In fact, the year after, it would be when I got my piece in on our middle school was doing a podcast for the students, you know, just, you know, class activity, and I had a segment on that. I believe it was called Cody's Bad Movie Reviews. Sadly, none of the original audio recordings survived, which may well be for the best, because, you know, who wants to listen to themselves, you know, 20 years after the fact, and, you know, cringe at not only the sound of their own voice, but also, you know, how you could do things a lot better, you know, 20 years in the future, hopefully. So, you know, that's what I mean. You know, that's when the first germs. I'd always loved movies, but 2004 was probably the first year I started, you know, thinking about movies and, you know, keeping up with release schedules and all that. In fact, this is when I first started, and around the time I started to, you know, my birthday party was always going to be movie birthday parties. You know, I would have one for the two that I remember fondly were 2002, I believe, which was for Spy Kids 2, The Island of Lost Dreams, as well as 2005, because that's when I saw Stealth. That came out around my birthday, and that's one of my guilty pleasure favorite movies. But so yeah, like I said, this is just not going to be a formal thing. This is going to be, you know, I have a list of the movies that I enjoyed that came out in 2004, and you know, this is all just a way to look back and reminisce on some good movies that just happened to turn 20 this year. So with that in mind, you know, I have my list, and these are in order of release date by calendar year 2004. And so with that, let's start with a movie came out February 25th, 2004, and that was Passion of the Christ. Now, this is one where I did not see this in theaters, obviously. I was only 11 at the time. But, you know, growing up, this is a very important movie to my father, and I got to, you know, see. He let me, even though it was rated R, he let me see some of the bits. I obviously had to, you know, close my eyes for the more intense aspects of it, but you know, just very important. Some good memories there, and it's obviously, you know, put aside the Mel Gibson-ness of it all, and it's still a well done movie in my opinion. So that came out February 25th. Next up came out March 5th, and that would be Hidalgo. This is one where I feel like I probably saw it, not huge into horses or whatever. I was just developing my sense of history, and that's why, looking back on it, you can see the rampant historical inaccuracies going on there. But I liked it just because, Viggo Mortensen, coming fresh off the heels of Lord of the Rings, so that was probably the reason I came into this. And it's a fun action movie. If you approach it on that term, you don't see it as a historical masterpiece or anything like that. It's a fun time. If you haven't seen it before, I think I would recommend checking that out. Next up came out April the 2nd, and that was the original Hellboy. This is one where I vividly remember seeing the poster outside of our movie theater for this, and it looked really cool. And this is a really fun movie. Great stereotypical comic book movie of the early 2000s. Some say, the Hellboy 2: The Golden Army is the better one of Guillermo del Toro's movies. For me, this is the one that I love more. And that's also why I'm comparing this to the 2019 David Harbour version of Hellboy was such a letdown. Next up came out May the 14th of 2004, and that would be Troy. I did not grow up with this. I knew of it, I think. It's probably brought up an example, probably saw it in a history class, would show clips of it or something. I came about this fairly recently, and good historical epic, in my opinion. There are better ones out there, but, I think this is probably a relatively decent movie, especially if you're a fan of the action element. And again, Orlando Bloom coming straight off the heels of Lord of the Rings, all these connections going off there. Next, the one that came out May the 19th is Shrek II. And this is one where I loved the original Shrek. I especially remember watching the outtakes and thought they were hysterical, or the CGI render errors that they put in there. And I loved the DVD menu of Shrek 2. It was one where they don't see that kind of menus anymore, because physical media unfortunately is dying a slow, painful death, and we only have ourselves to blame on that. But Shrek 2, probably my favorite of the Shrek movies. So there's that. Next up is, one came out May 28th of 2004, and that would be The Day After Tomorrow. This is one where I gotten a brief taste of, the Roland Emmerich disaster movies by this time with Independence Day. I don't think I'd seen Stargate yet with Roland Emmerich. That's not necessarily a disaster movie, but Independence Day was probably my only real experience with disaster fare. And until The Day After Tomorrow. And this one was probably my gateway movie into the disaster genre. I think if this hadn't been any good, I probably wouldn't have seen, I believe 2012 was the next one that he did, and that was one where, again, not as good as Day After Tomorrow, but that got me, thinking about other disaster movies that came out. My dad introduced me to The Poseidon Adventure. That was another one that was really good. So there's that for you. And I believe this was one of the movies that I'm pretty sure I saw. It would have been the next year, 2005. But it was we saw this. It was in the middle school, a movie night for the middle schoolers, and we'd all pile into the gym and bring beanbags or whatever, and have a movie night in the school gym or something. And this was one of the movies. So there's another one on this list for 2004 coming up here. But after that came out June the 4th of 2004, and that would be Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. I got onto the Harry Potter train a little bit later than others. I think I only saw Chamber of Secrets at a friend's house because he owned the movie, and DVDs were relatively new at the time, and he would skip to the Chamber of Secrets part, I think. So that was one where That was probably my first real introduction to the movies. I didn't see Prisoner of Azkaban in theaters, I don't recall. Probably not, but again, this out of all of the Harry Potter movies, it's probably my favorite, and it's also probably, looking back on the series, it's probably the best of the trilogy. Although I think Sorcerer's Stone has a special place in my heart. But all that being said, Prisoner of Azkaban, probably the best of the Harry Potter movies. Next up, we have a twofer actually. Both came out on June the 18th of 2004. One would be Dodgeball, a true Underdog story. I didn't see this in theaters. I think I probably got it from the library after, probably the next year after. My sister probably got it, and I saw it with her. And because she was older, she was seeing these kind of movies, and it's just hilarious. I love it. The badly aged Lance Armstrong cameo notwithstanding, this is just a great movie, and if you have not seen Dodgeball, I would highly recommend seeing it. I keep hearing that they're going to do a sequel to this after all this time. Just don't do it. This ended perfectly fine. Not everything needs a sequel, Hollywood. So there's that, and then the other one that came out on June the 18th is The Terminal with Tom Hanks, and this is one where the movie is perfectly fine. I didn't see it in theaters. I think my dad got it from the library. We watched it at that point, and it's charming. It's perfectly charming. Tom Hanks fare, and I think there's some people out there who will see that as a negative. It's like, oh, another charming Tom Hanks movie, done all these things. But for me, this one got me at just the right time. Plus, I like this DVD in particular because it is a Blockbuster find. I don't know if you can see on there, there's a Blockbuster case there. So again, R.I.P. Blockbuster and video stores in general. But then now we come to one of my personal favorites of 2004. Came out June the 30th, and that would be SpiderMan II. The best of the Spider-Man films, in my opinion. It totally requires my Spider-Man. And again, I didn't see it in the theaters, but this is another one where it was actually a double header that we did as the middle school movie night in the gym. Of Spider-Man 1 and 2. That's how I got introduced to both Spider-Man movies at the same time. That's what got me so hyped to see Spider-Man 3 when it came out in 2007. And, I still like that movie, but that, I recognize its flaws. Let's put it that way. But yeah, Spider-Man 2, definitely my favorite of the Spider-Man movies, overall. Put your opinion down below if you call me wrong on that one. If you prefer Tom Holland or Andrew Garfield, but for me, it's Tobey Maguire. Next up, on July the 9th of 2004, we had Anchorman: The Legend of Ron Burgundy. Again, another one that I did not see in theaters. My sister was a huge fan of it, so I probably saw it with her when she got from the library and had it on, and what can I say? Anchorman's amazing. It's peak Will Ferrell, in my opinion. So there's that. I mean, he probably didn't peak, in my opinion, until my other two favorite Will Ferrell movies are Talladega Nights and Blades of Glory. Those are probably his real peaks as far as that goes. But this is he was on the rise, man. So there's Anchorman. Next up is one where, yes, I admit it's probably not the best movie out there, but it holds a special place in my heart, and that came out on July 16th. That would be I, Robot, starring Will Smith, and this is one where, for good or ill, this is the movie that got me into Converse All-Stars. I wore Converse All-Stars because he wore it in the movie, and I wore Converse, I exclusively Converse for a good decade after this. So there's that, and got me back into liking cars because of the Audi that was featured in this. So there's that as well. Next up is The Born Supremacy, which came out on July 23rd. This is one where, again, I didn't see it in theaters. I didn't, grow up with this. I came to it later in life. And of the Bourne movies, it's not my favorite. I probably think the Bourne Identity is probably my favorite. But, it's still a solid action movie as well. And, influential in a lot of ways, for good or ill. See Shaky Cam 101 there. So there's that. The other one, next one, came out August the 13th. Is Alien vs. Predator. Now, this is one, again, I'm pretty sure I didn't see this in theaters, but, my dad really likes this, and, we saw it together. It's a fun movie, and, again, if you're a huge Alien fan or a huge Predator fan, and you just hate this movie because, it's PG-13, they weren't able to get away with a whole lot, it's butchering the characters, whatever, it's dumb, fun, and, call it a guilty pleasure for me, alright? So, there we go, Alien vs. Predator, one of my guilty pleasure favorites. Another one that's a guilty pleasure favorite of mine is also came out on August the 13th, and it's one that I don't have a DVD for. It's Yu-Gi-Oh! The Movie, Pyramid of Light. I was big into Yu-Gi-Oh! At the time. I had all the cards, I watched the show. I didn't see the movie in theaters. I think I rented it. I believe that was one of the few times I actually rented a movie from the King Soopers video store at the time, which is weird because we were always a Blockbuster family. But, overall, it's a decent enough Yu-Gi-Oh! Movie. And it came off, probably my arc of the show, which is the God Cards arc. And if that turned out to be a series finale for Yu-Gi-Oh!, that would have been okay. But then they just kind of kept on going. And, what are you going to do? It's Hollywood, or rather Japan. So that also came out on August 13th. But then the other guilty pleasure movie that came out August 20th of 2004 is Without a Paddle. This is one, I've probably mentioned it on this channel a number of times. My sister got this from the library, and we would watch it together, and I know it's not a good movie, but it got me at just the right point in time where I was, starting to get into, I was starting to be allowed to see more mature movies, and, it got me at just the right time, so that's why I call it a guilty pleasure of mine. So there was that. Next up, came out September the 17th of 2004, and that would be Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow. I believe I saw this in theaters, and, it's another fun action movie. The CGI treatment, the backgrounds, it looks a little dated by today's standards, but it's also set in 1939-ish, so you could call that part of the aesthetic. It's, it's dated in that respect as well. So, overall, fun movie on that front. If you have not seen this before, I highly recommend checking it out. So there's that. Next up on, again, I don't have a DVD of this, but it came out October the 1st, would be Sharktail from DreamWorks. I liked it fine at the time. I haven't rewatched it since, but I've, looking back on it now, it's like, it's okay DreamWorks. So when you compare it to other animated films that were coming out in that time period, it was just okay, which is exemplified by the next movie, which came out November the 5th, and that would be The Incredibles. The Incredibles is, I remember, waiting in line in the theater for this one. This was a fun movie. I believe I remember seeing the poster for this in the theater when we went to see Finding Nemo the year prior. So that was a fun little tie-in there. And what can I say about The Incredibles that hasn't already been said? If you're going to sum it up in one word, it's incredible. So there was that, and moving on, is coming out November the 19th. is the movie that I alluded to it earlier. This is the movie that kind of got me thinking about movies that were coming on 20-year milestones. That would be National Treasure, the original National Treasure with Nicolas Cage. Fun action movie. It loved the tie-ins with American history. I was more into the acknowledging visiting the various places of American history, and not buying into the whole the Masons global conspiracy or whatever, hiding treasure or something like that. But fun seeing American history that way. Although fun fact, well maybe not so fun fact, I had to rebuy this this 2-pack because the original one that I bought was off of Amazon, was in fact manufactured for a Canadian audience, and they inserted into dubbed in dialogue into various portions of the movie to explain the bits of American history that Canadians might not know. But as someone who grew up with the original, unaltered American version of the movie, it was very distracting. So something to keep an eye out for if you were buying physical media. There are slight variations on the movies from market to market. Only got a couple more left here. Last one that came out December the 10th of 2004 is Ocean's 12. Didn't grow up this, came to it later. This is not my favorite of the Ocean's movies. That would definitely be the first one, Ocean's 11. But for a sequel, I think it did okay. I think it did all the things right. I just recently got around to seeing Ocean's 13. I definitely don't recommend that. It was very much an inferior movie in that regard. But Ocean's 12, they still had all the main characters, and it was an okay time. And then lastly, coming out on December the 25th of 2004 is The Aviator with Leonardo DiCaprio. This is one, again, didn't grow up with it, came to it later, but as a history buff, I'm a huge fan of this movie. They take some license, obviously it's Hollywood, but they do have, they do a lot of things right on this one. And I believe, it says right there on the box, it got 5 Academy Awards, including Best Supporting Actress for Cate Blanchett. How can you not like a multi-Oscar winner like this? So if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. And that's all I got for this retrospective. I know there were so many other movies that came out in 2004 that hit many other people just the same way that these films impacted me. These are just the ones that I, own and have seen and appreciate. Again, this is just something that I wanted to do as I look back at the decades past. As you get older, you start to look back at things, and maybe sometimes the rose-tinted glasses come back on, or sometimes they take them off, and it's important to recognize these things as we're going into 2024. As I said, I hope you have had a good 2024 so far, and if you haven't, I hope things improve for you very soon. And thank you for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, I appreciate whatever heights I can get. If you like this video or any other video on my channel, please give me a like, share, and especially subscribe. I would very much appreciate it. Again, thank you so much for watching. Just remember, there is nothing new under the sun. And yes, you have seen it before.